What's up everybody, it is Bucky and welcome to the tutorials that you have all been requesting and I'm sure you guys have all been waiting for. We are finally going to begin game development and we are going to be programming our game in Python. So that's why I've been teaching you WX Python and Python core programming language before, but we need to learn one more thing in order to build games, and that's why I'm going to be teaching it in this tutorial. So go ahead into your internet and go to Google and go ahead and type in PyGame. This is the Python module that lets you develop games. So go ahead and press enter and click on this first link. It's called pygame.org. And again, this is what's going to allow us to develop games, and that's what I'm going to be teaching you how to do in this series of tutorials. Develop awesome games, first in 2D but eventually in 3D. So anyways, go to downloads right here, and once you click this, you're gonna see a bunch of downloads, probably under Windows unless you're using something else. You probably want to download this latest one right here. It's called Py 2.6. so go ahead and click that, and it's gonna give you an MSI, and this is pretty much like an executable. Just once you have this downloaded, just click that MSI and it's gonna run like a wizard, and it's gonna say next, 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 and then it's gonna say finish, and you're good to go. So if you ever installed anything before, then that's gonna be a piece of cake to you. It's not complicated at all. So once you have that downloaded, go ahead and open up your idle right here, and let's see when mine opens. Go ahead, and this is just a test to see if you downloaded it right. Go to import PyGame and then go ahead and press enter, and what this is going to do is import PyGame for you, but that's going to be blank no matter what unless you get an error. So here's what you need to do to see if it works. Go ahead and print, spell it right, print pygame.ver, and go ahead and press enter, and if you get installed right, then it downloads that version of PyGame that you just downloaded. If nothing pops up or you get an error, that means you didn't download it right. But if you get anything at all, like 1.81 release, then you are good to go for your next tutorials, where we will be developing a simple, probably not a game, but the basics to a game. So again, one last time, go to your internet, Google PyGame. On the first link, click download, and go ahead and click this PyGame 1.81 for Windows 2.6 MSI, and once you download that, you are good to go. So thank you guys for watching this tutorial. Hopefully you installed PyGame correctly. If you did, you're ready to move on to the next tutorial. If not, just send me a message and I'll help you out. So again, thank you guys for watching. Can't wait to start developing these games. So don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next tutorial. What is up guys, welcome to your second Python game development tutorial in PyGame, and in this tutorial I'm going to be building a simple, it's not a game but it's a basics to a game, and you're going to need it in order to learn all the basics that you're going to be using in the later tutorials. So before I begin, I want to show you guys that I have two images. One's a JPEG image right here called BG, and this is pretty much just the background I'm going to use right here, just a little gradient, and the other one's a little ball, as you can see right here. So whenever I use those images, now you'll know what I'm talking about, and that's the first thing we're going to use. So open up a new Python script or program, whatever you call it, and let's create variables for those images. And since they're in the same directory, I don't need to use any little backslashes or anything. I can just put their names. So I'm going to put background image file. Don't name it background because we're going to be using background later on. So I'm going to name mine Biff, and just put this to the image wherever your background is. So I named mine BG, and please again make sure it's a JPEG, and I'll tell you why later. In my ball for the mouse cursor, I named it mouse image file, or MIF, and set this equal to the wherever your mouse is. So my mouse is going to be the ball. So I name my ball.png, and anytime you want to work with transparency in PyGame, make it a ping, Anytime you want to work with a lot of colors, make it a JPEG. So make sure your background is JPEG and your mouse is a ping. So now that we got those, we can move on to the basics of what we're probably going to need to do every tutorial. The first thing that we're going to need to do is import PyGame and system. You'll see why later. And another thing we're going to do is from PyGame locals, we want to import all. I don't know what the asterisk is. Let's see. I have a bunch of stickers on my keyboard from After Effects tutorials, so it covers up all the symbols. So that's why every time I type a symbol, I have to look on my laptop. So next, what we're going to need to do is initialize all the PyGame modules. So PyGame init, and that's pretty much all the housekeeping stuff we need. We're going to need to do this every tutorial. This just imports everything we're going to use that's built in, and this just pretty much gets it ready for us. We don't really need to learn that. We just need to copy it from my tutorials. Now here's the meat of our program. Here's what you need to learn. Let me tighten this up a bit. The first thing that we're going to need to do is build a screen or a window where we can play our game. So let's go ahead and make a variable, set it equal to screen, and how you do this is go ahead and type pygame.display.setMode, set_mode, and this lets you create a window. The first parameter it takes, and it's the only one necessary, is to create the size of your window and set it equal to whatever you created your background. Mine is 640 by 360. Now it takes a couple other parameters. The second one is something called flag, I think. Don't worry about that. And the third one is the bits. And this is how many colors you can use. Just put, since I'm using a 32-bit system, just put 32 or whatever your system is. The next thing after that is we want to take that image that was our background image and we want to convert it to something that Python can use, since you can't just use it straight from your computer. So go ahead and type background. We're going to store this in the background variable. And type pygame image.load, and then in your parameters in load type BIF or whatever you named it up here. And this is going to go get that image from your computer, and what we're going to want to do is convert it. And what this does is convert it to something Python or PyGame can use. And we want to do this exact same thing with the mouse cursor. So I'm going to name mine mouse_C. I didn't like to name it mouse because Python already has something called mouse, so that's why I named it mouse_C for mouse cursor. So again, pygame image load, and in your parameters type myth or whatever you named your file path up here, and what you need to do this is convert _alpha ALPHA. There we go. And with empty parameters. And why do we do convert for this one and convert alpha for this one? Well, convert alpha, if you don't know from like web design or anything, alpha means transparency. And since there's some transparency to our cursor, remember there's that ball, but you could see through the sides of it, that's why we need to do convert alpha. So pretty much on basics, anytime you're working with a ping with transparency, use convert alpha. Now what we need to do is build the main loop for our game. And what the main loop is a loop that keeps going and going. So in order to do a main loop that keeps, it's pretty much like a never-ending loop, you either need to type while true or while 1. These two things make sure that your loop never ends. And the first thing we're going to do in our loop that never ends is give our system a way to shut down. So before we even build anything, we want to make sure when that user clicks that X box or close, your program shuts down. So here's how you do this. And again, you just need to copy this for now, you'll learn it later. For event in PyGame dot event, we'll be going over events later, that's why. Get empty parameters. If event, we'll probably be going over events in a couple tutorials, but for now, just follow me. If event type equals quit, pygame.quit, and sys.exit. And this is why we needed to import sys at the beginning for system exit. But anyways, moving on. aside from this, and make sure you're right under your 4, see, notice my indentation, what we need to do is blit the background to the screen. And what blit means is pretty much copy the background right on your screen. Again, we'll be going over this later, but here's how you do this. Background, make sure I spelled it right. And your next parameter is 0, 0. And what this does is pretty much take that background that you created and copy it on your window. So that background is always on the window of your screen. Blit pretty much just means copy two things to another. So now that we got our background, actually this tutorial is getting long, but now that we got our background, we can begin to build the mouse. And since this tutorial is getting kind of long, I'm going to put that in the next tutorial so I don't have to rush. So thank you guys for watching, and make sure to check out my next tutorial. And oh, by the way, make sure to subscribe. See you. Alright guys, what's up? Welcome to your third PyGame tutorial. And in this tutorial, it's pretty much a continuation of our last tutorial. Going to be picking up where we left off, and we're going to be building the mouse. So make sure you watch tutorial 2 before you watch this one. So in order to build the mouse, or our cursor, we need to get x and y coordinates. So we're going to make two variables, x and y, and we're going to set both of those equal to PyGame.mouse, which is, this is all built in. Anytime you see PyGame, it's built in. Get_POS, and no, that doesn't stand for what you think it does. And this gives us an x and y variable that we can position the mouse. So what we want to do is make it so whatever our cursor is, that's where we want the x, and wherever it is, same thing for y. So take your x variable, and what we want to do this is set it minus equal to mouse_c, or whatever you named it up here for whatever your image was. We want to set pretty much our image dot getWidth and divided by 2. And I'll tell you why this is. If you're wondering, alright, this makes sense to me, except when you did this, divided by 2. Well, by default, it's a coordinate, which is like one of the corners of it. And when you divide x and y by 2, it puts your cursor right in the middle of your image. So if you don't want it in the middle of your image, don't put the divide by 2. But like 99% of the time, you want your cursor to be right in the middle of the image. And this is going to be really clear whenever you see what I'm doing. So just pay attention for now and copy as I do. I'll comment them out later, and I'll show you what happens when you don't put the divide by 2. But for now, y negative equals mouse_c get there we go, get height this time. Get height, empty parameters, divided by 2. Make sure I don't have any typos or anything. And now what we want to do is, just like we blitted the background to the screen, we want to blit the mouse to the screen too. So screen dot blit mouse_c, or whatever you named your image, and x and y for our coordinates. X, y. There we go. And the last thing that we need to do is PyGame display update with empty parameters. And what this does is pretty much just make sure it doesn't flicker. This is pretty much just housekeeping stuff, but you need it in order to have a smooth running program. So let me run this, and it's a lot easier if you see the program, and then I'll go through everything and tell you what it does. Pretty much you don't even know what's going on right here, so let me fix that for you. Save this. Hopefully I don't have any errors. And here's my program right here. As you can see, I have a red ball that's in a screen. As you can see, this black and white gradient is my background. This ball is that ball ping I was talking about. And as you can see, it's transparent on the edges. So again, take note of my cursor being in the middle of the ball. And now I'll go through that tutorial one last time and show you what everything does. So here's the program we just built. Alright, the first thing we did is set, well, you should know what this is. Just take the image files and set it equal to a variable. All of this is housekeeping stuff. We're going to be going over this later, but for now just copy all that. And now let's get to what we actually program. The first thing we did is build a window or screen so we can put our background image in it and our regular image in it. And you pretty much need to build a display every time, or else you don't have a window. The next thing we did is converted this new image and set it equal to a variable named background. We also converted this ball image and set it equal to a variable named mouse C. So we have two variables that we're going to use, background and mouse C, for our two images in our game. Next, we built a loop that never ends, and we did this by putting either while 1 or while true. The first thing that we needed to do is this, and this pretty much means is an event, so when you click X on your program it shuts down. Again, we're going to be going over events in the next tutorial, but for now we need this or else your program is not going to be able to shut down. So sorry if I made you do it before explaining what it meant, but just do it before I explain what it meant. The next thing we did is copied our background onto our screen, and we did this using the blit. Blit means copy. I don't know why they said blit. If someone wants to find that out for me and leave me a comment, I would greatly appreciate it. But just take note that blit means copy background to the screen. The next thing we did is build our X and Y mouse coordinates. Again, the X value was that mouse C image, and again divide by 2 puts it in the middle, and then we copied that mouse to the screen. And again, I'm going to be going over all of this in detail later. I just want to build you guys a simple program and then go over the details later. I figure it's the best way of teaching, and trust me, by the end of these tutorials you'll be a pro at developing games. And lastly, I just did a little housekeeping thing. Make sure you have this PyGame display update. And now let me show you guys what happens if you don't have this divide by 2. And this will probably clear up while it's useful. Go ahead and take out those divide by 2 and now run your module. And as you can see, instead of my cursor being inside the ball, it's to one of the edges of the ball. And this is why I have divided by 2 and divided by 2 on X and Y. What this does is find the middle of each X and Y coordinates, so it puts your cursor in the middle of the ball. Now my cursor is only on the corner of the ball. So again, I told you guys I'd show you why, and that's why. So that is your third tutorial, and I know things are going to seem kind of confusing right now, but I promise you I'm going to be going over each of these things in details. And by the end of these tutorials, you're going to be able to build awesome 2D and 3D games. So again, thank you for sticking with me. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next tutorial.